So you got to understand, what does love even mean to you? What was your examples like that growing up? Because maybe you have to completely rewire your definition of what that means. And then when you get a healthy definition of what that means, you might recognize, I'm not getting that need met with my partner. And again, I believe in communicating those things to that person and allowing them to respond. So you don't assume what they mean. You got to let people speak for themselves. But if their behavior demonstrates that they're not willing to change, that may be another point where you decide you need to go.
Putting yourself first, number one, right? And so me and you, RJ, we discussed this topic a little bit beforehand. And so our next topic that I do want to talk about is just moving past or getting out of those toxic relationships. And so I know the first thing you told me, was number one, right? Knowing your value, knowing your worth, and putting yourself first. So that was a great segue into, right, being able to not only recognize these relationships, but then, okay, how do I get out of this? How do I change my mind frame about what this relationship is bringing to my life? And so I want to go ahead and give you the floor on that and getting out of these toxic relationships, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, and I'll look at some of the things you kind of brought up before, because I think that these points you mentioned actually are important. So you talked about not knowing what a healthy partnership looks like. I think that that's important, because if you don't have the example, then naturally you don't know really what you're aiming for. It's hard to imagine a future that you've never seen. You talked about if you're seeking out the satisfaction of maybe dysfunctional behavior. So we argue, we make up, we argue, we make up. That cycle can, for some people, is thrilling. It's exciting. Some people thrive on drama. And obviously I don't support that, because what I talk about in my personal life and in my therapeutic work is sustainability. We don't talk about anything that you can't do for the rest of your life. There's a lot of things that you can suggest that are temporary. But what I'm talking about is things that you need to be able to do and willing to do for the rest of your life if you want these relationships to work, or if you want to take better care of yourself for your lifetime. You mentioned focusing on chaos of whatever the situation may be and getting distracted by them. Well, if I don't want to deal with my stuff, then a great thing to do is then find a way to be distracted so I don't actually deal with my stuff. So people do that. So you have to be willing to address those issues so that you're no longer being distracted by them. Maybe the partner is a distraction. And I need to go do my own therapeutic work to understand that maybe this is not the healthiest relationship. Or before I walk away, perhaps I should talk with this person, express how I'm feeling, see how they respond. Because if you share with them, they might listen, they might change their behavior, or they may not. And if they choose not to, then that may be your reason to exit that relationship. And then if you're talking about maybe you feel unworthy, that's what we talked about, understanding that you are the priority. So understanding maybe where that came from, learning about that. What does love mean to me? Why do I think that it's supposed to be this way? How should it be demonstrated between me to my partner, and vice versa? Because maybe the answer is, I didn't see it again when I was growing up. My definition of love, as I told you and the audience, is that it was equated with abuse, physical abuse. And so it allowed me to be in a relationship where those things were present, because I thought that they equaled each other like a math equation. But that was not true. That was unhealthy, but that's what was modeled to me. So everybody's normal looks different. So you got to understand, what does love even mean to you? What was your examples like that growing up? Because maybe you have to completely rewire your definition of what that means. And then when you get a healthy definition of what that means, you might recognize, I'm not getting that need met with my partner. And again, I believe in communicating those things to that person and allowing them to respond. So you don't assume what they mean. You got to let people speak for themselves. But if their behavior demonstrates that they're not willing to change, that may be another point where you decide you need to go.
Need to exit, yes. And so, RJ, all these things that we're talking about, right? Not knowing what a healthy partnership looks like, focusing on the distraction, and the chaos, thriving in the chaos, not believing you're unworthy of love. These are all things that people can come to you and break down, which I love. That's why I love mental health counseling. You come and sit with him, and he will help you break down these things. And that's why I love therapy. I've definitely been to a mental health counselor throughout my life at different times in my life, and I loved it because other than that, if I don't go there, it's all in my head, right?
Correct.
It's all, and I'm my own judge, I'm my own critic, and it's the worst place I can be in. So just listening to you, I was like, wow, these are all the things. This is your purpose, RJ. So I wanted to make that point. This is why you contact Inspire Wellness Solutions, because you need someone to help you work through that, but not only someone, your friends or your family, a professional really, to help you break down these things and let you be a little bit more vulnerable and that, and honest. And that's what I love about going to therapy.